How good do you need to be? That is the question that I'm posing today. And I'll just spoil right now that this isn't a question that I have the answer to, or that there's some big payoff at the end, or that I conclude. I have some thoughts, certainly, but I'm equally as interested to know what you all think about this question. It's one that's been rattling around in my brain the past few years, and for many of you, this may seem like a non-starter. And in fact, if you had asked me this question at some point in time, it wouldn't have even made sense to me. It'd be like, well, what are you talking about? There's no point at which you reach the point where you can stop getting better, or you can stop improving. There's no upper limit to how good you can be. I think we can all agree on that no matter how good you are, or how good the greatest among us are, they could always be a little bit better at whatever it is they're doing. So if we know that there's no upper bound to how good you can be, then the question becomes, how good should you be? Or how good do you need to be? And again, some of you may be like, well, there is no how good you should be. There's no point at which you should stop. And for me, this has always kind of been my MO, that no matter what my playing situation is, no matter what it is that I have to do musically, when I'm practicing sort of the big puzzle, or the big Rubik's Cube of figuring out all the coordination and everything that is involved in drumming and becoming more and more free and articulate on the drum set, that's a never-ending quest that so far I am not bored with. I'm not compelled to stop chasing, and I don't anticipate that to stop anytime soon. So I know this is the case for a lot of you as well, where, again, this is kind of a non-question. It's like, well, you just keep going. There is no point at which you stop. But I think we can still ask the question for the population at large, because this may not be the case for everyone. And I've had to understand that more and more the more I've started teaching. And I've had to understand that you have to teach someone who just got accepted into Berklee very differently than you teach someone whose only goal in life is, they would be satisfied if they could just play a Led Zeppelin song. And there definitely may be the case where, the person who just wants to play the Led Zeppelin song, they finally complete that goal, and now they're hungry, they're inspired, they want more. And it's up to you or me as an educator to give that to them. And definitely part of, I think, a good educator's role is to inspire a student and try and encourage them to be more than they are, or maybe even more than they thought that they could be. But that doesn't diminish the fact that those two students take the instrument maybe more or less seriously, or at least they have a very different relationship with the instrument, the person who's going to Berklee versus the person who just wants to be able to play a certain Led Zeppelin song, or whatever it might be. Now, another interesting case that I think we can take a look at is specific drummers in specific playing situations. So let's take the idea of like Meg White or Patrick Carney from the Black Keys, and like Dave Grohl. So Meg White, this is definitely one end of the spectrum, but it was always the White Stripes and kind of Jack White's intention for Meg White to not practice. Jack encouraged her not to practice and to not improve in sort of the ways that we would classically think of as improving on the instrument. He wanted her playing to be very visceral and almost childlike. Those are his words. And that was part of the sound of the White Stripes. So for Meg White, there definitely is an upper bound on how good, she ought to have been in that playing situation. So we can also take, Patrick Carney of the Black Keys, maybe sort of a similar situation. I don't want to start any ruckus here, but I don't know. Seems like maybe Patrick doesn't practice that much. But anyways, I won't get into that. Let's take someone like Dave Grohl, who is many people's favorite drummer, is pretty much unquestionably a fantastic top-tier rock drum set player. But I wouldn't be surprised if he rarely plays drums these days. I mean, obviously he's doing Foo Fighters, he's doing all sorts of musical endeavors where he's singing and he's playing guitar and all this sort of stuff. And I'm sure there's a large bulk of practice time that he had in his past. But do we all agree that it would behoove Dave Grohl at this point in his life to start working on three-limb ostinatos and improvising with the left hand and all of this stuff that I like to teach and that a lot of the drum nerds like to keep improving on? And I just don't think so. So it's weird to say that, maybe someone like Dave Grohl or you know, whatever drummer you want to take as an example has topped out and they can just stop practicing and they don't need to get any better. But that may be the case for Dave's playing situations. If he can fulfill every role he wants to on the drums currently in his life and that satisfies him, then does he need to keep improving in the ways that we, you know, classically think of as improving? Does he need to sit down for an hour a day and practice specific things? I don't know. Now, I know this has been sort of stream of consciousness and kind of long form, so I apologize if this is getting long in the tooth, but like I said, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. And I guess for me, sort of what I'm circling around is, I think maybe it really just has to do with what satisfies you as the player or you as the individual. And again, that's not to say that your goals can't change and you know, you may become more and more serious or even less and less serious over time, and you know, you ought to improve, or you know, maybe you need to, and maybe you have a specific playing situation that, like a band you want to get into, but you're not quite good enough, so you need to be better. You need to be a more experienced drummer in order to land that gig or get that situation. Or maybe all the gigs you're playing, maybe you're too good already. Maybe you're better than all of your gigs call for, which I don't think that's really the case, and you know, we could talk about that in another video. But let me know what you think on this topic. How good do you need to be, or how good should you be? So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.